There's a place in the desert where lost travelers swear they've made progress, only to find their own footprints circling back around. It's not the landscape that betrayed them. It's their inner compass. And what if I told you, most people live their entire lives this way? You're not stuck. You're repeating. You're waking up inside the same field of probability every morning, collapsing the same waves, projecting the same emotions, attracting the same timelines, and calling it normal. But what if normal is just familiar? What if the reason you haven't broken through isn't because you lack potential, but because you keep broadcasting a frequency from the past and expecting the future to respond? Let's disrupt something deep right now. Change doesn't happen when you want it. It happens when you become incoherent with the old pattern. So incoherent, so vibrationally incompatible with who you were yesterday, that the quantum field has no choice but to deliver something new. But here's the paradox, the part your mind doesn't want to hear. The more you try to break out through effort, the more you reinforce the loop. Because effort, when it comes from fear, doubt, and lack, is just another way of repeating the same energetic signal. It's like running on a treadmill with VR goggles on, believing you're sprinting toward your dreams, but you're really burning out on a floor that never moves. Now pause. Notice what's happening in your body right now. Maybe a tightness in your chest, a restlessness in your stomach. That's not random. That's your nervous system recognizing the loop. Because this isn't just a mindset problem. It's a bioenergetic program. Every thought you've repeated for years, every emotion you've recycled since childhood, every belief system you've adopted unconsciously, they've formed neural pathways, chemical patterns, electromagnetic signatures, and these signatures act like codes, feeding the quantum field with instructions. Repeat this reality again and again and again. Here's where the science meets the soul. According to quantum mechanics, particles exist as probabilities, waves, until they're observed. The moment we observe them, we collapse the wave into one single outcome. Now imagine you're observing your life, not through pure awareness, but through filters of fear, memory, trauma, and identity. What kind of wave do you think you're collapsing every single day? Exactly. The same one. And the brain, being a prediction machine, starts filling in the gaps. It doesn't show you what's possible. It shows you what's likely, what you've seen before, what matches your past, what fits inside the loop. This is why some people feel like they're living different versions of the same year, for decades. But the real kicker, the loop disguises itself as progress. You switch jobs, but still feel undervalued. You enter new relationships, but the patterns repeat. You move cities, but bring the same internal chaos. Because wherever you go, your frequency follows ground and the field responds to frequency, not fantasy. Let's go deeper. Neville Goddard said, "You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are." And who you are, vibrationally, is a sum total of your emotional states, your focus, and your unconscious identity. So if you are the loop, how could you ever escape it from the inside? You can't. Not while identifying as the thinker of the same thoughts. Not while feeling the same emotional weather every morning. Not while reacting instead of observing. Here's the twist, and it changes everything. The loop doesn't break when you try harder. It breaks when you become aware you're inside it. That moment, the pure moment of observation without judgment, the instant where you catch yourself mid-pattern and don't react, is a quantum anomaly. It's a vibrational rupture. And in that rupture, new timelines become available. But most people miss it because they're too busy trying to fix their life from within the same frequency that created the problem. They're trying to think their way out of a vibrational maze, trying to manifest with a nervous system stuck in survival, trying to visualize abundance while radiating fear. And that, right there, is the invisible wall. The vibrational feedback loop where the field keeps saying, "You haven't changed, so why should your reality?" Let me tell you a story. There was a woman who journaled every day, visualized her dream life, repeated affirmations until her throat went dry, and still, nothing changed. One day, she stopped everything. She sat in silence, and for the first time, she felt how much of her life was being run by a part of her that was just afraid to be still. That's when the tears came. That's when her body softened. That's when something shifted. She didn't manifest the next day. She collapsed a loop that had been running for decades, and that collapse made space for something entirely new. Now let me ask you, what if your biggest breakthrough isn't something you add to your life, but something you finally stop repeating? Don't answer yet, because in the next chapter, we're going to reveal where those loops are stored, why they keep regenerating, and how to rewrite them at the source, not in the mind, but in the field. Wait until you see how deep this really goes. There's a blueprint beneath your thoughts, a silent code, etched not in your DNA, but in something far more malleable, the field. This field is not a metaphor. It's not poetic language. It's the measurable, testable quantum field of energy and information that permeates everything, including you. But most people are completely unaware that their entire life, their patterns, emotions, relationships, finances, health, is being orchestrated not by their conscious desires, but by the vibrational blueprint they've unknowingly downloaded into this field. Think of it like this. You're walking through a room filled with mirrors, but the mirrors aren't reflecting your appearance, and they're reflecting your state, your subconscious programs, your core frequency, and every single event in your life is just one of those mirrors reflecting something you've been broadcasting all along. Bruce Lipton calls this the biology of belief. Amit Goswami calls it the primacy of consciousness. Joe Dispenza calls it reconditioning the body to a new mind. But it all points to the same truth. Reality is not responding to what you consciously want. It's responding to what you unconsciously expect. And those expectations, they're encoded in the field. Now here's where things get quantum. Every cell in your body communicates through electrical signals. Your heart generates the most powerful electromagnetic field in the body, and it broadcasts emotional information into space around you. This is not metaphor, this is measurable. The HeartMath Institute has shown that your heart's rhythm literally affects the coherence of your brain, your nervous system, and, most importantly, your interaction with the environment. So now ask yourself, what's your heart broadcasting every morning when you wake up? Because here's the hidden mechanism. The field records your repeated emotional states, especially those charged with high energy, fear, grief, shame, longing, resentment. Over time, those emotions form stable vibrational signatures, and once those signatures are stable, they begin to form loops. These loops act like energetic scripts, autopilot programs that keep pulling similar events into your experience, not because you're cursed or unlucky, but because the field is obeying your last clear set of instructions. But the real mystery is this. Where are these instructions coming from? Let's go back to the beginning, your beginning. From the last trimester in the womb until around age 7, your brain is operating in theta state, the same brainwave frequency accessed in hypnosis. This means that during your early years, you were not reasoning, analyzing, or filtering information. You were absorbing everything, emotional states, belief systems, energetic dynamics, from your parents, caretakers, and environment. This becomes the original imprint, and once that imprint is installed, your subconscious begins projecting it onto reality, while the field begins mirroring it back. So now, decades later, you might be a grown adult with dreams of abundance, freedom, and love. But if your energetic blueprint says love means abandonment, or money comes with suffering, or I must earn my worth, then guess what? The field will respond accordingly. Because the field doesn't hear your words. It hears your frequency. It obeys your dominant vibration. And your vibration is the result of your inner state, not your outer affirmations. This is why repeating affirmations without shifting the internal blueprint often leads to frustration. It's not that affirmations don't work. It's that your field doesn't recognize them as coherent. There's no energetic signature behind them. You're saying, I am worthy, while your nervous system screams, I'm not safe. That contradiction creates noise. And noise doesn't collapse waves, it just echoes in the void. But here's the opening, the invitation. The field is not fixed. It's responsive, it's intelligent, it's waiting. And once you shift the source code, your core vibration, the entire mirror begins to reflect something else. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine your life is a song playing on a loop. You hear the same verse, the same chorus, the same bridge. You get tired of it. You try to change the lyrics, but nothing shifts. Why? Because the melody is still embedded in the track. To truly change the song, you have to go back to the mixing board, to the frequency base, and remix the energy that created it. That's what this work is about. This is not about fixing symptoms. It's about rewiring the frequency that keeps generating those symptoms. Joe Dispenza explains this with stunning clarity. He says that if your personal reality is a reflection of your personality, then to change your life, you must change your personality, meaning your thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and most crucially, your energy signature. This is not just a self-help concept, it's a quantum principle. The observer, you, collapses reality not with thoughts alone, but with emotionally charged awareness. And here's where dark psychology comes in. In reverse, most people were programmed into fear, shame, guilt, and limitation without knowing it. They were manipulated into loops by unconscious emotional reinforcement. But what if you could reverse engineer that? What if you could deliberately charge your body with elevated states? Not fake joy or toxic positivity, but real, embodied gratitude, elevated presence, and a deep sense of enoughness. You'd be rewriting the field, not with force, but with coherence. Because coherence is the secret language of the quantum field. And incoherence, even if dressed as hustle, grind, or mindset, is still a repellent signal. So what's the next step? In the next chapter, we'll go deeper into the observer effect, how your very attention determines what manifests, and how observing through the lens of old trauma keeps collapsing the same version of reality. But what if there was a way to observe differently? To tune your attention like a laser and collapse new potential into form? It's not only possible, and it's scientific, and it's coming next. What you observe becomes real. But not because reality is waiting for you to look at it. It becomes real because your observation is not passive, it's participatory. Your gaze doesn't just register the world, it builds it. This isn't spiritual poetry, it's quantum physics. According to the observer effect, particles, the very building blocks of everything, exist only as probabilities until someone observes them. The moment they are observed, they collapse into a fixed state. Now apply that to your life. Every morning, you wake up and look at your world, and by the way you observe it, through thought, emotion, expectation, you collapse it into a pattern, and then you wonder why nothing changes. But the real trap? You're not just observing the world, you're observing it through a lens. And that lens was built long before you knew you were holding it. Let's break this down. Your attention is like a spotlight. Wherever you place it, you energize. But what most people don't realize is that attention is not neutral. It carries the frequency of the observer, which means if you're observing your bank account through scarcity, you're not just seeing low numbers. You're feeding the field with scarcity, and that frequency reinforces the same collapse. You're not just seeing what is, you're projecting what has been. Every fear-charged glance, every worry-soaked thought, every doubtful analysis acts like a quantum command. More of this, please. Let's pause here, because this is subtle and dangerous. The reason change feels impossible isn't because you're lazy, broken, or undisciplined. It's because you're locked inside a feedback loop, where your inner state creates perception, and perception reinforces your inner state. It's a quantum echo chamber. You feel insecure, so you notice rejection. You feel unworthy, so you attract belittling situations. You expect delay, so time slows down in the places you need it to move. And the cruel twist, each of those observations feels like evidence, but the evidence is only appearing because of the frequency you're collapsing into form. This is the observer trap, and it runs deeper than most people think. Because your attention is being stolen every single day, hijacked by unresolved trauma, by cultural programming, by digital noise, by internal narratives that no longer belong to you. Every time you try to focus, something pulls you back into the familiar loop. Your nervous system resists new frequencies, not because they're wrong, but because they're unknown. And the unknown, to the survival brain, feels like death. This is why you can visualize something new and still collapse something old, because the attention might be forward, but the frequency is still backward. Let's use a metaphor. Imagine you're a painter. Each morning you arrive at your canvas with fresh brushes, new colors, and a vision of something breathtaking. But there's a fogged glass in front of the canvas, and you don't realize that your hands are tracing the same old outlines, day after day, because that's all you can see. The fog is your subconscious. The outline is your vibrational history. And the painting, it's your life, stuck in repetition. Now here's the key insight. Your attention is not just a spotlight. It's a scalpel. Where you place it, and how, literally carves the wave of infinite probability into one finite result. Which leads us to a powerful truth. If you want to collapse a new reality, you can't just change what you look at. You have to change how you're looking, and from where you're looking. Joe Dispenza teaches that when your attention is rooted in survival, in the lower centers of fight, flight, control, and predict, then your focus becomes narrow. You scan for threats. You seek certainty. You collapse the safest, most familiar version of the world, which just so happens to be the version you've already lived. But when you move your attention into the heart, into coherence, into the observer beyond identity, you open the lens. You begin to see what else is possible. You stop collapsing the same predictable outcomes and start attracting the unexpected. Not through effort, through elevated observation. Let's be clear. The field doesn't give you what you look at. It gives you what you become while you're looking. If you become lack, it reflects scarcity. If you become fear, it reflects limitation. But if you become gratitude, the feeling of already having, it reflects the match. You've heard the phrase, what you focus on expands, but that's incomplete. What you focus on, with emotional coherence, manifests, which means your real work is not controlling what shows up. It's controlling how you show up as the observer. This is where spiritual practice meets scientific method. This is why meditation, breathwork, presence, and elevated emotion are not self-care routines. They're quantum tools. They train your attention to stop collapsing recycled timelines and start accessing the unknown. But here's the final piece. The one most people miss. The observer is not your mind. It's not the thinking you. It's the aware you. The you beneath the program. The witness behind the thoughts. That version of you is timeless, neutral, powerful. And when you rest in that seat, even for a moment, the entire vibrational frequency of your observation changes. You no longer collapse from fear. You collapse from alignment. And alignment pulls different threads from the quantum soup. So let me ask you, and don't rush to answer yet, what would happen if you stopped using your attention to scan for threats and started using it to tune into possibilities? What if your gaze wasn't reactive, but creative? What if your attention became a tuning fork, vibrating with the version of you who's already living the life you desire? That's not magic. That's quantum mechanics. And it's the doorway to the shift, because in the next chapter, we're going to explore that doorway. And for the first time, you'll understand how to shift timelines not by effort, but by stopping the energy that feeds the loop. Wait until you feel what happens when you stop energizing what no longer serves you. There is a moment, brief, silent, nearly invisible, when the loop loses its power. Not because you fought it, not because you conquered it, but because you simply stopped feeding it. The energy stopped flowing. The story lost its charge. And in that precise instant, something ancient begins to unravel, like a frequency finally breaking apart under the pressure of your awareness. Every loop you've ever lived has one thing in common. It needs your energy to survive. It needs your reaction, your agreement, your identification. Without that, It collapses. Not overnight, not always dramatically, but subtly, like a thread pulled loose in a tightly wound knot. And here's the truth no one told you growing up. You are not trapped in your life. You are entangled with it. And entanglement, as quantum physics shows us, can be altered when coherence shifts. Let's break this down through vibration. Every thought, every emotion, every reaction emits a measurable frequency. When that frequency is repeated over time, it becomes a field pattern, like grooves in a vinyl record. The needle, your consciousness, drops into that groove and plays the same song over and over. But here's the secret. You are not the needle. You are the hand that holds it. The moment you stop reacting, the needle lifts, the groove loses momentum, and the timeline that was being reinforced begins to fade. This is how quantum shifts happen, not through force, but through frequency starvation. But the mind resists this idea. It screams, "Do something." And that's exactly how the loop keeps winning. Because doing is not always the answer, especially when it's coming from a place of incoherence. In fact, most doing in the modern world is a distraction from feeling. People don't want to sit with the energy of the loop, so they move and hustle, perform, chase. And in doing so, they re-energize the very pattern they were trying to escape. Let me tell you a story. A man had been trying to manifest a breakthrough for years. New job, financial freedom, peace. He meditated, visualized, made vision boards. Nothing shifted. One night, he had a panic attack. Instead of resisting it, he sat completely still. He did nothing. For the first time, he didn't try to fix his state. He simply allowed it. And in that raw surrender, he stopped feeding the loop of resistance. What followed wasn't fireworks. It was stillness. Then clarity. Then the next day, a completely unexpected phone call changed the direction of his life. Why? Because his signal changed. Not by trying to create the future, but by refusing to energize the past. This is the core principle of quantum timeline shifting. When the emotional signal ceases, the quantum match disappears. No signal, no feedback, no loop. Joe Dispenza teaches that elevated emotions, gratitude, love, inspiration, collapse higher order possibilities. But you can't reach those emotions while holding onto a lower frequency loop. You have to let it decompose, and decomposition requires silence, stillness, space, the willingness to not feed what feels familiar. But how do you do that in practice? Start here. Become aware of what triggers you into the loop. The person, the memory, the fear, the thought. Then pause. Drop into your body. Feel the emotion fully. And instead of reacting, breathe. Let the emotion rise without a story, without a fix, without trying to change it. What happens next is subtle, but profound. The emotion loses its story. The story loses its charge. The charge loses its coherence. And suddenly, you're no longer vibrating in alignment with that timeline. It's like changing the channel on an old radio. You don't destroy the old station, you just stop tuning into it. And your reality, being a vibrational mirror, has no choice but to reflect the new signal. Here's a powerful metaphor. Imagine you're feeding a wolf every day at the edge of a forest. The wolf becomes strong, dominant, predictable. One day, you stop feeding it. It howls. It scratches. It returns the next morning. But still, you offer nothing. After a few days, the wolf doesn't die, but it wanders. It fades into the trees. It stops dictating your path. Your loop is that wolf, and your energy is the food. Now comes the beautiful paradox. You don't have to know what timeline you're shifting into. You just have to stop feeding the one you're currently entangled with. Because the quantum field doesn't need you to figure it out. It needs you to become available, to empty the old signal so something new can enter. But here's where most people give up. The silence between loops feels like death. That void, that space where the old pattern fades but the new hasn't arrived, is terrifying to the ego. And so, we rush back to the familiar. We reattach. We feed the loop one more time, just to feel something. But that's not you anymore. You've seen too much. You've felt the pattern. You know the cost. So today, right now, let's create a shift, not just in information, but in frequency. Type in the comments, "I bring my energy to a new timeline." Let that be your signal. Let it echo into the field. Let it be the moment the loop starts to unravel. Because in the next chapter, we go beyond neutrality. We step into intentional coherence. We stop being reactive observers and become living transmitters. You are not here to observe the new timeline. You are here to become it. Most people think the universe is listening, that the field is some cosmic Amazon, waiting for your order to ship your desires into form. But what they don't realize is, the field doesn't respond to requests. It doesn't hear what you say. It doesn't decode what you want. It mirrors what you are. And that changes everything. Because if you are the signal, not the receiver, not the antenna, not the speaker, but the actual broadcast, then every outcome, every synchronicity, every closed door or divine alignment is not about destiny. It's about resonance. So here's the truth. Most manifestation teachings never tell you. You don't attract what you wish for. You attract what you've become coherent with. And coherence, vibrational, emotional, energetic, is not something you fake. It's something you live. Now let's bring in the science. Everything in the universe vibrates. Atoms, cells, thoughts, even emotions. But vibration alone isn't enough. It's coherence. The harmony and synchronization of those vibrations that produces powerful, stable energy fields. Think of a laser. It's not just light. It's focused, coherent light. And that coherence gives it the power to cut through steel. Your consciousness works the same way. When your heart and brain are in coherence, when your thoughts, emotions, and body are aligned in the same frequency, your signal becomes potent, magnetic, laser-like. You're no longer just a person with good intentions. You're a walking transmission tower of vibrational clarity. And the field cannot help but respond. But here's where it gets real. You can't reach coherence by accident. You reach it by embodiment, by becoming the version of you who already lives what you desire. Not later, not someday, but now. That means speaking like them, walking like them, feeling like them, making decisions from their state of being, even if the evidence hasn't caught up yet. Because the field doesn't work on evidence, it works on instruction. And the most powerful instruction you can send is your state. Let's get practical. You want abundance? Then you must become the frequency of sufficiency, not just through mindset, but through sensation, through breath, through posture, through gratitude that vibrates in your cells, not just your affirmations. You want deep love? Then you must become the frequency of being already loved. Not because someone told you you're worthy, but because your nervous system feels it as a fact. You emanate security. You walk as love, and the field reflects the match. You want freedom? Then you must walk through your day with the energy of expansion, not waiting for circumstances to give you permission, but moving as if freedom is your birthright, encoded in every step. Because here's the quantum truth. The field is not a judge. It's a mirror. And mirrors don't argue. They don't edit. They don't delay. They reflect whatever stands in front of them. So if you're holding back your frequency, waiting for evidence first, you're collapsing the wrong wave. You're activating delay, reinforcing lack, affirming that you don't have it yet, and that gap becomes your reality. But when you collapse time, when you become the frequency first, then time obeys you. Reality begins to bend. You meet people you couldn't plan for. Opportunities arrive without explanation. Doors open without effort. Not because you're lucky, but because you've become coherent with the version of life you asked for. Let's bring in a metaphor. Imagine you're tuning a radio. Each frequency band contains a different song. You can want to hear jazz. You can beg for jazz. You can visualize saxophones and close your eyes and repeat, "Jazz is mine." But unless you dial into 103.7, you're still going to hear static. Or worse, the wrong station. Desire is not enough. Alignment is the dial. And what most people call waiting is actually misalignment. They're sitting on 89.5, hoping for 103.7 to show up. But it can't. Not because the universe is cruel, but because that's not how vibration works. This is where we stop being passive creators. This is where we stop asking and start tuning. So how do you do it? First, stop chasing outcomes. Chase states. Outcomes are effects. States are causes. Instead of asking, how can I get this? Ask, how would it feel to already be that version of me? Then saturate your field with that feeling. Morning, night, in the gaps between tasks. Breathe it. Speak from it. Move as it. This is not pretending. It's practicing a new signal. And just like a muscle, coherence strengthens with repetition. Here's what Neville Goddard meant when he said, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. He didn't mean to fake it. He meant to become so vibrationally identical to the version of you that has it, that the field can't tell the difference. And when the field can't tell the difference, it aligns. Not gradually, instantly. Even if the result takes time to materialize, the shift is already in motion. So now, let me offer a gentle disruption. What if the field is not out there at all? What if you are the field, localized in a body, playing a specific frequency to experience a specific reality? Then the real shift is not external. It's internal alignment with the infinite version of you that already exists, waiting to be tuned in. And that's where we go next. In the final chapter, we'll bring all this together, not as theory, not as concept, but as a lived reality. You'll understand how to stay out of the loop, how to sustain the shift, and how to embody a new quantum identity that the old you can no longer contain. You're not waiting for the signal. You've always been the signal. There's a moment in every shift, a silent crossroads, where you face the ultimate test. Will you collapse back into the known, or expand into the unknown? Because here's the most difficult truth about transformation. Your old loop is not just a pattern, it's an identity, and letting go of it means letting go of who you thought you were. That's why most people relapse, not because they don't want the new reality, but because they don't know how to live without the old one. The pain was familiar, the chaos was predictable, the survival strategies were rehearsed. Even suffering has a strange comfort when you've made it part of your personality. But here's what the quantum field invites us to understand and live. You don't need to fix the old identity. You need to dissolve your resonance with it. And that only happens through embodiment. Sustained embodiment, not just tuning into a higher frequency for a few minutes in meditation, but living from it, speaking from it, making decisions as if you were already inside the new timeline, because in truth, you are. The shift is already happening. The new self has already broadcast its signal. The question is, will you stabilize that frequency long enough for reality to reorganize around it? Because the loop, that old, sticky, seductive version of life, will keep calling you back. It will whisper your name in moments of doubt. It will dress up in urgency, in logic, in old desires disguised as new needs. And if you're not grounded in your new identity, you'll answer the call. You'll return to the past, thinking you're being practical, when in truth, you're just collapsing a familiar wave. But you don't have to go back. Because once you've touched coherence, once your body knows how freedom feels, how power moves, how peace breathes, it's almost impossible to pretend you don't know. You've already rewritten the frequency. The signal has changed, and the field remembers. This is the quantum exit. Not an escape, not a fight, but a transcendence. A shift in resonance, from the vibration of reaction to the vibration of creation. It's what Neville Goddard meant when he said, change your conception of yourself and you will automatically change the world in which you live. He wasn't speaking metaphorically. He was articulating a quantum fact. When your internal signature no longer matches your old world, the old world dissolves. Not because it's punished, but because it's no longer entangled with you. So how do you stay out of the loop for good? You stay out by remembering that you are the field. You are not in the field hoping it gives you something. You are the embodied extension of pure potential. And your state, your attention, your coherence, your choices are the tools of reality design. You stay out by choosing the unknown again and again, not as risk, but as home. By allowing discomfort without collapsing into it. By leading with gratitude, even when your senses scream for evidence. By understanding that spiritual maturity means not needing proof to become the proof. You stay out by making the inner state non-negotiable. By anchoring into breath, into presence, into awareness, when the loop tries to pull you in. And most of all, by never negotiating your frequency for the comfort of your past self. Because the quantum field doesn't respond to effort. It responds to embodied truth. And your truth is not small. Your truth is not repetitive. Your truth is not a loop. It's a signal, calling reality into coherence with the masterpiece you're now living. And if you've felt the shift during this journey, even for a moment, then you already know. There's no going back. Only inward, only deeper, only higher. Now, if this resonated with you, and you're ready to not just understand but fully embody this new way of being, I want to offer something that's helped many take this transformation from concept to lived experience. It's an ebook called Awaken Your Quantum Power. It's a tool, a next step, a deeper activation of everything you've just experienced here. Inside, you'll explore how to structure your day, your energy, your decisions around quantum embodiment, with powerful practices to align, stabilize, and expand your signal. The link is in the pinned comment below. You'll know if it's for you, because your frequency will tell you. And remember this, you are not manifesting a new reality. You are remembering who you are in the field, and collapsing everything that doesn't belong in your next timeline. Welcome to the shift, and we're just getting started.